The cold wind rattled the windows of the small-town diner as Christian sat quietly in a corner booth, finishing the last few bites of his meal. Outside, snow blanketed the sidewalks in thick, uneven layers, and Christmas lights blinked faintly in the dusky sky. He wiped his daughter Lily's mouth gently, smiling softly as she giggled. Christian had been a single dad for 6 years now, ever since the accident took Emily, his wife, far too soon. Since then, life had been about survival. He worked 2 jobs, took care of Lily alone, and tried his best to hold on to the warmth of what family felt like. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened that night. Just as he gathered the plates to hand back to the waitress, he heard a soft voice from behind. "Excuse me, sir, may we have your leftovers?" Christian turned, surprised, and met the eyes of a woman who looked utterly exhausted. Her coat was too thin for the weather, her shoes soaked with slush. She held her swollen belly protectively, and beside her stood 4 young girls, no older than 10, shivering but smiling politely. The smallest girl clutched her big sister's hand as if the ground beneath her might vanish. Christian stared, stunned. For a moment, he couldn't even speak. "I'm sorry," the woman added quickly, her voice breaking. "We haven't eaten today. I didn't mean to offend you." "No," Christian said, standing up. His voice cracked. "You didn't offend me." He saw something in their eyes, something hauntingly familiar. Desperation. Fear. But also, the brave silence of someone trying to protect others while they were breaking inside. Because once, he had been there too. Her name was Grace. She was 28, recently widowed. Her husband, a National Guard medic, had died overseas. After losing their apartment, Grace and the 4 girls, her stepdaughters, had bounced between shelters until one night, even those doors had been full. She was 9 months pregnant and had nowhere left to go. They were sleeping in an abandoned van near the train station, she admitted quietly over a hot meal Christian had insisted on ordering. He listened without interrupting, his daughter Lily curled up in his lap, watching Grace with wide eyes. Something in Christian's chest began to ache. He remembered holding Lily in his arms the night he lost everything. The nights he cried in the dark, not knowing if he could feed her the next morning. The hunger. The shame. The silence. He had survived because one old man at a church pantry gave him a bag of groceries and a place to sleep for 3 nights. That was all it took to start climbing back up. And now, staring at Grace and the girls, he realized something. This was his chance to give back. "Come home with us," he said suddenly. Grace blinked. What? "I've got an old guest house on my land. It's not perfect, but it's warm. It has heat, a small kitchen. You and the girls can stay there. Until you figure something out." One of the girls burst into tears. The others gasped. Grace covered her mouth, her whole body trembling. "You don't even know us." "I don't have to," Christian said softly. "I know what it's like to be where you are." The next few days were a blur. Christian called in some favors, got the guest house cleaned up, and had a few friends from church drop off furniture and blankets. Lily was over the moon, she loved having other kids around. They decorated the Christmas tree together that week, and the laughter that filled the house was something Christian hadn't heard in years. But there were still challenges. Grace went into labor early, and Christian had to drive her to the hospital in the middle of a snowstorm. He held her hand through the contractions because she had no one else. When little Caleb was born, Grace sobbed into Christian's arms, not just from the pain, but from the release of finally being safe. There were late nights when the girls would cry in their sleep, haunted by memories of cold floors and empty bellies. Christian would sit beside them, rubbing their backs, whispering stories until they calmed. And Grace, she struggled with guilt, afraid to accept kindness. "Why are you doing this?" she asked him one night, tears sliding down her cheeks. Christian looked at her, his voice steady. "Because someone once did it for me. And now it's my turn." By spring, things had changed. Christian helped Grace apply for aid and finish her teaching certification. The guest house became more than just shelter, it became home. The girls started calling him Uncle Chris. And little Caleb, with his wide eyes and gummy smile, became the joy of the entire house. One night, Christian found himself sitting on the porch, Lily sleeping against his chest, and Grace leaning beside him, watching the stars. "You know," she whispered, "the night we met. I almost turned around. I was too ashamed to ask. But then, something told me to speak." Christian smiled. "And I'm so glad you did." She looked at him quietly. "You saved us." He shook his head. "No. You saved me too. You brought life back into this house." The story ends not with a romantic kiss or a dramatic twist, but with a warm dinner table, 7 plates full, 7 hearts healing. Because sometimes, all it takes is a moment of courage from someone in need, and a heart willing to listen. And in that cold winter night, when a single dad heard, "May we have your leftovers?" he didn't just give food. He gave family.